Okay. I'm going to call this regular board of police commissioners to order. Roll call of police commissioners. Commissioner Cominato.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Diaz.
Here.
I'm Ed Bureau. Yes, at this time, we'll observe a moment of silence for retired Captain Richard Cummings Jr., who passed away on Saturday, March 12th, 2022. Secondly, please observe a moment of silence for retired Officer Charles R. Sikelski, who passed away on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. And thank you for that. At this time, I accept a motion to accept the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, March 15th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Additionally, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes of the special board meeting held on Tuesday, March 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I'll take and I apologize, we have a few of these. Acceptance of the minutes of the special board meeting held on Thursday, March 24th, 2022.
So moved.
And I move from second from Commissioner Diaz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Acceptance of the minutes of the special board meeting held on Thursday, March 24th, 2022. Oh, hold on a second. Is that a typo, Lieutenant?
No, sir. We had two meetings
second.
that
Oh.
evening.
Oh, for the second, okay. Hold on 1 second.
We
Okay.
had a pension plan A, and
Right,
then
I
we
see.
had,
I know, I realize what you were saying now. When you, thank you. I'll take a motion to accept the minutes of the special board meeting held on Thursday, March 24th, 2022, the second part of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. All right, and then finally, acceptance of the minutes of the special board meeting held on Thursday, May 5th, 2022. Where's our last?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. At this time, I'll entertain Chief of Police to give you a report. Chief Garcia. I think you're muted, Chief.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Yes.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. So I was looking over our weekly, what we call command staff reports. that talks about our stats is what we look at to focus on our patterns, trends, and clusters to see what areas of the city are raising concern within the Bridgeport Police Department and to help us focus our efforts with our strategic enforcement detail and combating crime as well. So I am happy to say that our numbers are going down, and they're in the negative, which shows the efforts that the officers are doing with combating crime and the details that we have in place. I think they have proven to be very successful. We do know that at this time we do have 7 homicides, which is entirely too many. I think 1 is one too many. But I will tell you that the Detective Bureau is working endlessly to work on those homicides and bring the victims to justice. In regards to our recruit class, they are on schedule to graduate for the very last week of July. And we are looking to start another class hopefully this summer. Once we start that class, we will be doing a recruitment drive again and offering another entry level test for the police department. As you all know, nationwide, there has been a decline in interest for law enforcement, but we're going to continue to push forward and continue to try to engage people into being members of the Bridgeport Police Department, which I think is one of the finest departments around. I may be a little partial though. I will tell you that our training academy has been doing a phenomenal job with updating our training classes, offering new classes. They're looking at classes to assist with law enforcement wellness, and just getting the recruits out into the community. They've done a couple of community projects, and like I said, expanding our officers that are in place, expanding their knowledge in different areas that we cover. I will tell you proudly that we just had 3 firearms instructors successfully complete a firearms class, which allows them to be firearms instructor. And for the first time in the history of the Bridgeport Police Department, we have our first female firearms instructor, which I think is phenomenal. I think it speaks volumes in the direction that we are going with our police department, as far as diversifying and giving everyone an opportunity to advance in the areas that they are interested in. We also were part of I'm sure you all were able to see it, the announcement with the council regarding the change to the ordinance to assist in our quality of life concerns regarding the ATVs, and the ordinance has to change that will go into effect on June 13th, that gas stations cannot allow ATV riders to gas up at their locations. If they do, and if they're seen or witnessed, obviously by law enforcement, they will be fined. We are going to be holding a meeting with the gas station owners, just to be fair to them, let them know and make them aware of the ordinance that is in place, the ordinance that was approved, and obviously to let them know that as of June 13th, that will go into effect. We also have signs and stickers that will go on the gas pumps that it indicate that they cannot gas up at the gas stations. Let me see, like I said, we're looking at putting in a new recruit class. We're looking at different measures to be able to have the recruit class complete their time prior to the 8 months, which means that they will have longer days. But I think considering the number of retirements and the resignations that we have looked at, that we have experienced in the PD, we want to make sure that we're bringing qualified candidates through our process, and with making sure that we're not, public safety is not at risk. And that's what we want to maintain. the focus on and assure the community that public safety is not at risk, because we're doing everything that has to be done to continue what we do. Like I said, we have strategic enforcement details. We have our task forces that have been working hand in hand with our patrol officers as well, that are dedicated to working with the community and making the community better. We are also gearing up for our summer events. You know, this kicks off, the warm weather kicks off a bunch of events in the city, and we're gearing up for the summer events and coming up with different operations plans to make sure that the events are successful and safe for everyone to attend. And I believe that's all I have, unless you all have a question, any questions for me.
I have a question.
How are you, Mr. Diaz?
Hi, how are you? Through you, Commissioner Farrell, to the chief. Chief, on that ordinance, you know, I've always, even in my career as a legislator, I'd always had problems with laws or things that separated people that were for one group but not for the other. If I'm not mistaken, I heard that they were going to allow gas stations to give gas to those bikes that are on trailers or that are being, and I think that if you're going to do it for one, you got to do it for all. It's my problem. I had a big problem with fingerprinting, unless it was going to be fingerprinting everybody. You're going to fingerprint the nanny, then fingerprint the doctor who brought the baby into the world. So in this case, I know that it is an issue, but in my opinion, if the police officer sees that the person is getting gas at the gas station, why not get the person getting the gas at the gas station? My opinion. Mm-hmm. I know that it's something that the council probably worked really hard on and trying to put it together. And I know, you guys probably sat together and came up with this, and it sounds like it's a good thing, but at the same time, sometimes you open doors that shouldn't be opened. I do have concern about these people will get ticketed or this. You will get ticketed for serving these people, but not for serving these. Mm-hmm. If you get the gist. Again, if somebody's got an illegal bike and they're getting gas, the gas station owner, of course, he has a right to not serve them or serve them, and he probably shouldn't. But I think we should be more concerned with the person getting the gas.
I can tell you that we do focus on the person getting the gas when they're on the bikes. We can't, if a bike is being towed, obviously it's not considered to be illegal because it's not on the road. It's on another truck, or it's on a truck. We actually 2 years ago, and even last year, we did an initiative. The task force officers were part of an initiative, a pilot program in getting the bikes off the street. As you know, we have ordinances or rules that we follow, state rules that are put in place regarding how we operate and certain things that we can and cannot do. And I understand your concern, because obviously we want to be across the board, but it's not only going to be the gas station owners or attendants, it will be the persons that are on the street riding the dirt bikes, because they're creating such a first of all, safety risk to the community. But we've heard the voice of the community that are saying that they're afraid.
They are, and I understand, and I agree with them and you and that. My concern again is that here goes a guy. He's a little more well off than anybody else in the block. He puts 12 bikes on a trailer and gets them filled with gas, and he rides away, and nothing happens to anybody. Mm-hmm. Those 12 bikes still hit the street. We still don't have any place for them to ride them in Bridgeport. So if we're going to stop people from getting gas, then let's stop everybody. You can't ride them in Bridgeport anyway.
What I would say, if it's someone with multiple bikes on a trailer, I would say that those are not going to be the people that are going to be riding on the streets. They'll probably go to a offset area because of
But are we supposed to, that's the problem. Are we supposed to think? Is that the thought that we should have? Should we be thinking, this guy's doing this for this reason, or these people are doing it for this reason? Again, we're causing a separation. In my opinion,
Mhm.
I know we need this. I know we need this, and I don't want to sound like I'm against trying to find a reason or finding an answer. I'm just really, 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 we really need to be careful about how things are separated, and this is a time when a lot of that stuff is being looked upon. I fear also for the business owners who are going to get ticketed or lose money for, at right now, the way that just everything is really at a, but again, I appreciate that you guys are working hard and trying to come up with things. I just wanted to voice and go on record with my concerns.
I thank you for that. I totally understand your concern. Obviously, we want to be fair across the board. But we've had some serious issues and people raise some really serious concerns. And New Haven is another department or another city that has the ordinance as well. And what we want to try to do, obviously, is gauge the impact and make sure that we are doing things across the board. And one of the things that I said that we were definitely going to do is we're going to, number one, train our officers, and number two, through our community policing efforts, we're going to speak to the gas station owners and just explain to them what is being done, what the parameters are, and why, in an effort to be fair and to make the streets safe for those that are driving and have expressed major concern. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes, and along those same lines, with Commissioner Diaz, when you're looking at the ATVs and you're stating that someone who has them on a trailer doesn't necessarily mean that bike is registered just because it's on a trailer. So how are you going to determine what is registered and what is not registered? So we can't speculate. That's really a bias right there. Because
No, ma'am, that the bikes don't have to be registered, ma'am. They're not supposed to be on the street. So
so in
they're
the ordinance, it says in the ordinance. That's why I said that. It says it in the ordinance.
the dirt
So
bikes.
that's that. Then you guys need to look at what's being put out. So how you're saying how are you going to determine what's fair? How are you going to determine if it's on a trailer? That a speculation is that this person's going to go to a back street or somewhere else outside of Bridgeport to ride it. So there's really no determination on that. So how are you going to govern that?
Well, ma'am, the trailer itself has to be registered. So the specifics on dirt bikes is that the dirt bike cannot be on the street.
Mm-hmm.
If the dirt bike is on a trailer, it's not considered to be on the street.
Mm-hmm.
If what we're seeing and what we have seen time and time again are the dirt bikes that are lined up at the gas stations, 15, 20 deep sometimes more. Those are the bikes, obviously, that we have to deal with and we have to address. Like I said, if the trailer is registered, then
Right.
it's out of our control.
Okay.
But what we're looking at are the ones that are on the street, the ones that are really causing a negative impact on drivers throughout the city. We've heard the voice of the people in our community that are saying they're afraid.
I have the parade right here where I live. So I've seen it.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm against it, but I've seen it. But I just want to be like the same with Commissioner Diaz. In all fairness, how do you know that trailer is registered? Is what I'm saying, not the ATV.
The trailer will have a plate on it, ma'am.
But doesn't mean that it's not illegal. I could put a plate on any trailer. That's all I'm saying. You have to really look at that avenue because It's really saying just because it's on a trailer, then it's legit. Not necessarily. We have people that, put plates on different things all the time. That's all I'm saying. So if the cops see someone on with their trailer, they just can't assume that it's okay. If you're gonna stop one, you gotta stop the other one too and check it as well.
Ma'am, I would tell you that our officers are serious. They too have experience. We've had officers, cars surrounded. We have officers that have encountered masses of dirt bike riders that have created a safety concern for our officers as well. So it's not like the officers just going to drive by and not do their due diligence when they see. I mean, I would really look at a trailer that has multiple bikes on it and try to find out more about it and where it's going. Yeah, and the officers do have what we call MDTs, which they don't even have to stop and do a motor vehicle stop. They have MDTs that they can just punch the number in their computers and it will show whether the trailer is registered or not, ma'am.
Okay, Chief. I guess I'll start out by saying I recognize you didn't create the ordinance. And I think you're the person who, voted to have this ordinance put in place. So I want to start there. So I don't want to kill the messenger. But
Thank you.
I wasn't trying to either. I apologize. I was just trying to bring out my feelings on it.
No, I appreciate that, and the public needs to hear your position in this and Commissioner Williams' position as well. But my bigger concern with all of that, and again, I recognize you didn't create the ordinances. This must be something we got to think about, because I'm more concerned about the safety concern. I mean, you got 20 people who could potentially have debit cards or whatever else it is. It's not like the gas or the person operating the gas station or the attendants or anything else can stop them from using their card and pumping gas or anything else, but they have to go out and try to confront a group of very jacked up individuals who are excited and everything else and tell them to stop pumping gas, or basically get them in a position where they now have to police their the gas station on behalf of the owners or whoever else it is, because I have to imagine most of the times the owners aren't there, right? It's going to be attendants. So I'm curious how far the council, and this is not to criticize the council, maybe I need to go to a council meeting and voice my opinion about this. I'm more concerned about safety issues for the attendants and the owners and the people who will have to confront these people when they're
I think that's a
excuse me.
Fair question. They have the ability to turn off the pump right from the inside. And we were also talking about the possibility of a delay before the pump actually goes off as well. So these are some of the things, and that's why I said I want to have a meeting with the gas station owners. We're talking about 2 weeks out there. Everybody's going to get a letter so that we can discuss these concerns, and not only discuss it, but come up with different ideas, potential options, because we don't want, obviously, the gas station owners / attendants to think that we're beating up on them, right? What we want to make sure is that we send a message as to why this happened, why this is taking place, and obviously we want to work together with everyone. So there is a turn off that they can do from the inside.
Right, and I'm less concerned about the attendants worrying about us or the police beating up on them. I think it's bigger concern if you got 20 jacked up individuals who are operating in groupthink and telling them what they can and cannot do, and even turning off a pump. It's not like they can't just walk into the gas station, I mean, or into the store. So that's my bigger concern. It's more a safety concern I have for the attendants who are now being expected to police these gas tanks or whatever you call them, right? These so that's where my mind went. And I understand the concern. I've been face to face with these vehicles driving in the same lane that I am in the whole 9 yards, and popping willies and doing whatever else it is, and it's dangerous, and we need to do something. But I don't know if shifting the responsibility to the gas attendants is necessarily the best answer we could have come up with. But once again, I recognize, Chief, it's not your responsibility. I'm just curious to see how the officers are going to have to implement these rules that were now created, and they have to go out there and do their job. So, but thank you for your time. It sound like look like you're about to say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do want to say is that the standard, obviously, we all know this, is that, but state standard is that they cannot be pursued. And what the initiative that was happening is that when we saw them on the street and they were not occupied or not in motion, is when we were taking them and bringing them in, towing them to the department. So I do understand the concerns. We don't want anyone policing anyone that is in this predicament. Obviously, that's not what we want. It's difficult enough for law enforcement to enforce these rules, correct? We don't want someone that is not law enforcement to try to enforce this. It can be very it could be a precarious situation, which is what we're trying to avoid. But that's why I do want to sit with the owners and the attendants to explain. And not only that, but we're going to send a message to those that are on the street that are, if we get your dirt bike, the first fine is $500. So we want to make sure that we're sending that message. We're going to send it out clearly so that it's understood that this is something that the community has talked about. It is a quality of life issue, and we're trying to make this city a safer place.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
And don't get me wrong, there's some attendants who might be all too happy to confront and do things, and that's the other part of it. So it goes both ways. But thank you so much for your time, Chief. I guess we'll move on. Sorry for belaboring.
Thank you. No worries.
All right. In the interest of being, I guess, maybe courteous, if the Board of Police Commissioners will indulge me, I'd like to go out of order to go into the new business. I don't know if Anita Martinez, Dr. Ford, any of those people are in attendance.
Commissioner Farrell, Ms. Martinez, Dr. Ford, they canceled due to another conflicting meeting, but they would like it on the record that they'd like to place this item back on the agenda for the June meeting. So I will put that in the minutes.
Okay.
That they are requesting to speak to you again.
Thank you, Lieutenant. That being said, if we can go to, if the board will indulge me, if we can go to new business under 4B. Commissioners okay with that? Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Comunado, you're good. That being said, we have a request from Mr. Jeffrey Fletcher, President of African American Collections Incorporated, to address the board regarding the planning of curriculum for the post Connecticut training classes for recruits and current police officers. So, Mr. Fletcher, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, commissioners, for allowing me this opportunity to just take a brief moment of your time to, again, I am Jeffrey Fletcher, and I am the president of the African American Collections Incorporated, as well as the Ruby and Calvin Fletcher African American History Museum, which is physically located at 352 East Broadway, Stratford, Connecticut. The museum has been open since October 30th of 2021, this past fall. It's a collection of African American artifacts that stem back as far as the 1700s. And it's a huge collection that I've accumulated up to 5,000 pieces. The collection comes from my mom and dad, who are no longer alive, who grew up in the South, Jim Crow South, and they were part of the Great Migration of the 1950s where they escaped Jim Crow as well as the oppression of the Ku Klux Klan. As a child, my mom and dad, they collected certain artifacts that they brought with them in their travel migration to the Northeast. Again, unfortunately, my parents have passed, but what I have been doing as I inherited this collection, not as big as it was then, but bigger, have been taking the collection to various civic organizations and municipalities, one being in play with Stratford, Connecticut, which has been the biggest municipality that has invited us over the past 8 years. This collection is very important, and I had a meeting with Lieutenant O'Donnell, Captain Blackwell, Lonnie Blackwell, Commissioner Reverend Lee, Mary Lee, and Commissioner Lewis, I think her name was. And we sat and we talked a little bit about this collection. We talked about the museum and how that we can use the museum in a positive light to teach cultural awareness, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And this model, and let me back up a second here. So for all you all that don't know, I'm a former 22-year retired police officer from the city of New Haven. And so as I told Captain Blackwell, as well as Lieutenant O'Donnell, is that, when I do these programs, I always infuse my experience as well as the cultural aspect of what the communities that represent some of this collection look like. And I think it's a valuable tool that officers can use in their tool belt. As we know that there has been an influx of that 1% of police officers across the country that have been involved in issues pertaining to Black and brown people. And I stress that 1%, because that's what's out there. The numbers may be a little high. People might have a little bit more stronger numbers than that, but I'd like to think it's that 1%, that bad apple out there that affects the civil rights and the lives of Black and brown people. So having said that, what I've decided that I wanted to do was to take a model, and the model that the FBI Training Academy uses at Quantico, which they've incorporated since the inception of the Holocaust Museum, as well as the National African American History Museum, both located in Washington, D.C., was to infuse the training with the museums. And what this does is it teaches sensitivity by having the agents or the trainees attend a module or having to go through sensitivity training, cultural awareness, diversity, equity, and inclusion training by actually going to these venues and seeing how different cultures had to struggle and to see to spell out some of the stereotypes and myths. And so in my museum, when I established this as a law officer years later, I said, what better way to try to give back to the career that I so loved, and the career that I swore to protect the community which I served, which is the city of New Haven. And like many of the officers in the city of Bridgeport, I'm sure there are officers who are dedicated to protecting and serving, but also understanding this history that's been maligned and had different concepts. People have different concepts and stereotypes and bias about. So what I want to do is to basically say, I want to open up the doors to this museum. And the recruitment class that's in there, or the training class that's in there now, I want to offer them the opportunity to let's start with the training academy. Let's have them come to this museum, have them come through the museum and get whatever information and knowledge that they can, so that it could be another tool in their utility belts. The second part of this is we are, as we speak, I'm working with several members from my board who are professors from the University of New Haven, as well as professors who are adjuncts at other nearby communities, communities that were former law enforcement officers teaching on the college level. And what we're doing now is we are actually trying to put together a curriculum. And that curriculum, what we want to do is to, with communities like Bridgeport, New Haven, and other municipalities, especially where we see a lot of urban communities, we want to insert that to POST, which is the police standards division of how law and officers are licensed throughout the state. We think this would be an added benefit. We think it would send a message to the community that, you know, you are on the cutting edge of trying to make a difference, that the police department is hearing the concerns, and that it's not just optics. It just doesn't take, it's just not an optic or a photo op. It's where we are inserting curriculum that will be placed in the academy, as well as across the state, as post requires, that we can talk about bias, unconscious bias, and stereotyped myths. And again, the museum itself, that's what we do there. I do most of the tours, as well as my staff, who are very familiar with the items in this museum. And to this date, we've had over 6,000 visitors to the museum since the opening, which was October 30th, as I mentioned. And we've had state and local and state leadership, political leadership that have been there as well to actually embrace this museum. So I truly believe that this is an asset, and you're right next door, but it's not Stratford's museum. It's the state's museum. It's our museum. And I truly believe it can be an asset to the department, and to work with the municipality of Bridgeport and the commissioners to try to let's get the trainees through here before they graduate, if nothing but to visit this museum and to see some of these objects up close and personal. And let's dispel some of the concerns and issues, and try to bridge this gap. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Yes, Commissioner.
Hold on one second, please, Commissioners. I apologize because I was supposed to, and I apologize because it's not in my notes, and Lieutenant O'Donnell, I apologize to you because you did tell me, but Councilwoman McBride Lee, I believe, was supposed to be also participating in this conversation. Is that right?
Yes, Commissioner Farrow, that's correct. She is the Common Council Public Safety Liaison. She's invited every month, and she asked to speak with Mr. Fletcher, regarding this item on the agenda.
So before we move forward, I want to give my best friend over here an opportunity to say something on this subject. I apologize, Councilwoman Riley.
Well, thank you very much, my best friend in the whole wide world.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good, very good.
Chief Garcia, what I was trying to explain to you last Saturday, I think the Fletcher kind of summed it up. I know I was supposed to get something to you, about the class that's coming in. So I hope that he said something to let you have an idea of what we're trying to do. And I think that it's a great idea that we're trying to do a cultural awareness, and it's not, and I just would like to say that when we talk about culture, we're talking about everyone, not in a particular race or creed or color, whatever the case might be. And Chief Garcia, if you have any more questions that you would like to present to us, I have you on speed dial, so I'll call you, okay? Yeah, so I would like to say that I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the museum and also with Mr. Fletcher. And I've made that museum my second home because when I go in there, it's just a feeling. And I think that it will also enhance the activity and all the other good stuff with the recruits that we have now. And I hope that our chief, that we can probably get them in before this recruitment is over. I hope. Just think about it and pray about it, please. And I also would like to say that we did invite two of the commissioners that I knew how to get in touch with. Now I know everyone, so I'll be inviting all of you. And that was Trinity Fair and what's your other your chair?
Commissioner Roach.
Uh,
Commissioner Roach. Yeah.
yeah, and we wanted some representation from the police department, from the fire department, and also because they're going to be next on my list. But since the police department was my favorite department, we thought that we would get you first. I hope that that Mr. Fletcher said something tonight, to let you know which way we trying to go to. And so that's all I have to say. Now, thank you for letting me have a few words. And Chief Garcia, do it kind of open up what we trying to say or present to you? I know that we trying to come through. We trying to go through the proper channel. We would like for Lieutenant O'Donnell and Captain Blackwell to be the liaison person between the police department and the museum, if that's okay with you. Or would you like to have this at another conversation?
Sure. So why don't we, this is the first I'm hearing of this. So I am very open, as you all know, those of you that know me, those of you that know a little bit about my history, my 31 years here with the Bridgeport Police Department. My goal is to definitely bridge the gap and educate our officers and our new recruits on our community. We've had community engagement events. So I would love to sit and talk with you so that we can look at different measures and seeing how we can at least get this recruit class in there and put out the information that this is available and can be supported by members of the police department as well.
Okay. Chief,
Yes.
you forgot you had a conversation with me, and I enjoyed that conversation too. you remember at our council meeting the Saturday, you and I don't know his title. You remember, and I mentioned it to you, and you told me to send you a little something about it. Do you remember now?
I do remember us having a brief conversation, but I haven't received anything. I'd like to be able to sit down and talk with you and speak with the commander of our academy, because we would love to get the officers to be obviously well-rounded, our recruit officers, and offer this opportunity to them as well. But yeah, send me the information for sure. And then we can move forward. We can sit down and have a discussion. That'll be great.
Okay.
Can I just yes, I did. I just wanted to interject into this. Also, I mean, as Commissioner Lee just said, this does not only pertain to African Americans, because this museum, in which I failed to state because I'm not sure how much time and how much the platform allows me, but this doesn't only identify African Americans, because there are sections within this museum that we deal with exploring and having people understand that this just didn't happen, and this history didn't occur only in America. It was in our Caribbean, in our South American countries, our Caribbean islands, and certain things. So it has a huge Black and brown influence, this history, and it crosses the board. So when Black and brown and white students come through this, or trainees come through this museum, as well as regular visitors, everybody gets this history. Everybody understands its history, and it puts a face on the history. So when we have trainees or visitors come through, it's a surprise to them that we're just not only speaking of African-American history, we're talking about Latino history, we're talking about Anglo history, and how it's all infused together. And one thing that we do there that I state out loud before we start the journey through the museum is that I do not want anyone coming through that museum pointing the finger. I don't want nobody's going to come through that museum feeling as though they have to internalize any emotional issues because they're made to feel to blame or they're being left out. So that's one thing I stress. And I think that's the key to the success of this museum, because all of that other minutia and all of that stuff I just mentioned, it takes away from what they're supposed to be processing and looking at when they come through. So it's a good venue, but it's also a learning experience. And I'm so excited that I'm even having a conversation with you all right now. And it's a start, and I'm sure there's going to be more conversations. But I think the first thing is, if we can get that class that's getting ready to graduate in July, if we can just get them through and let them be in their training instructors, let them be the catalyst to speak with you, Chief Garcia, about what they've experienced and what they've seen. I think that'll make a big difference. And you're welcome to come. I'll give you a special tour, and also the commission, I'll give them a special tour as well. And I'd love to see y'all there.
Well, I tell you, I'd be willing to go with the recruit class. We just have to have the time on their schedule and make it happen. But I would definitely go with them. That's not a problem at all. I would definitely support that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do you know what she needs now, Mr. Fletcher? Mr. Fletcher?
I'm listening, Commissioner. I hear
you. Know
you.
what the chief needs? Okay, all right.
Yeah, yes,
okay.
I do.
Thank you, my best friend.
Sorry about that. My apologies. I sometimes you take your closest friends for granted. I apologize for doing that this time. But thank you so much. Now I want to open the floor back up to the commissioners to ask questions. I believe one of the commissioners want questions. Questions?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me, Mr. Fletcher?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Mr. Fletcher, this is this thing that you're doing is really close to my heart. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Arturo Alfonso Schomburg from the Schomburg Institute in New York.
Yes, sir.
I've been associated with them, I want to say over 20, maybe 25, 30 years. And they, for those of you who don't know who Arturo Schomburg was, he was a young man who in school in Puerto Rico, he was Puerto Rican of German and African descent, who in school in Puerto Rico in the 1818s maybe.
1801.
His teacher told him that he would never amount to anything because he was Black. He went on to become one of our great historians and a leader in finding out excellence in African Americanism and Boricuaism, because he's Puerto Rican. So if there's any way that, just as a suggestion to you to reach out to them in any way that they can help, and any way I can help, I've always been an advocate for Black and Brown and us. A lot of the issues that we are stuck with as a team, that we always seem to be separated on, or have other powers separating us on. So and you can count with my support. I'd love to visit. And again, suggestion, Arturo Alfonso Schomburg, maybe a little wing in the a closet space in the museum would make me proud.
I'll tell you, Commissioner Diaz, I am in contact with a professor emeritus from the Schomburg, and there's like 25 of us that are on a Zoom call at least once every month. And he serves as a kind of like a consultant to help us dispel. I mean, I've had a couple headbanging sessions with him, and but at the end of the day, we all agree to disagree, or we disagree to agree. So I am familiar, and we are in contact, and there's like a bunch of resources to help me, because I can't do this alone, right?
Of course. That's why I mentioned they've been doing it for so long. I think it was 1874 that he was born. So I guess in the early years of that is when he became aware, and he went on to do some great things. He was part of the whole New York, that group of stars and poets that were all hanging out in the 30s and the 20s.
Yeah,
So
there was a rise of the Black and Hispanic Renaissance.
it was, and I think that in our communities we miss a lot of that, and it's a lot of what Bridgeport suffers that's unique to Bridgeport. That's not unique to a lot of other places.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one issue that if you can bring it about and bring light to it, and then I'm all for it.
Yeah, and also to dovetail, I don't mean to hijack this council meeting, commissioners, but the other part of it, this is our temporary museum, right? We're only going to be there for a year and a half. We are moving around the corner in a year and a half to the Sterling Homestead, which is right next door to the Sterling Community Center, that big white house in the historic district. Where I'm fortunate and blessed to have Sherman and Sterling LLP, which is John Sterling, who lived in Stratford, who graduated from Yale in the 1800s. So one of the things that I am going to do, and you can hold me to this. I have had conversations with individuals about bringing in Latino culture and African-American culture, because we are not far apart from who we are and what we represent. And so I think that's going to be intricate. It's going to be important because there were just as many Latinos that were on the front line during the civil rights and experienced a lot of the excuse the expression, the ass whippings that came along with freedom and equality. So we definitely are putting that into the bigger part of the museum as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams? Nothing. Commissioner Coronado? Nothing. Thank you so much, Mr. Fletcher and Councilwoman Lee, or McBride Lee, excuse me. I appreciate what you're doing. I have been meaning to get to your museum, especially to support my friend. I know you've been doing a lot of things with her. And so I look forward to meeting up with you at some point.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. That being said, I guess we'll move on. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Fletcher. We'll be in touch, and I'm sure you'll be in touch with the chief. Chief, I want to thank you for sticking around. I know you've had a busy day, and you indulged me by hanging out for a little while, so I'm glad that you did. But if you're ready to go, you're welcome to excuse me.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Fletcher. Mary Lee, as always, is a pleasure, and the commissioners. I look forward to any information you can send me. I'll sit down with the commander of the training academy and we'll make this work. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Commissioner Farrell, I have one
Good
question for Chief before she leaves. Are you familiar with the Calm, Cool, and Comply PEP program with Stratford?
I have some knowledge of it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you been able to? So you haven't had
attended?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I attended. They had an event over maybe about a month ago on the weekend, and I attended. Mm-hmm. And it was very informational. And for those who have not, it also is part of their DARE offshoot of that, and just trying to get the awareness out into the community. And they have different levels and different asks, for people who want that to come out. If it's for adults, they'll do it for adults. If it's for youth, they'll do it for, the high school kids and things like that, and different things, and then also the community. They did show a video, and I know we in the city of Bridgeport, we have the simulator, and they did similar with the community and how people were to take part in an activity that was going to happen, and just to have that experience and to see what the officers go through on a day-to-day operation. So I just wanted to ask if you had and they're willing to bring the information to the city of Bridgeport. So I just wanted to put that out there. And as well as the museum, when it first opened, I did take my son there to the museum in Stratford. So great information's out there, and we just need to make sure that we are making it available and making it known to others.
Correct. Like I said, we always welcome any information forwarded to us. We can vet the information, put it out there, put it out to our officers, our partners in law enforcement. And like I said, my goal is bridging the gap between the police department and the community, making it better for everyone. But I thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everybody have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
We also have a 4D, but what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back in order. I just wanted to make sure that we address the public without dragging them through a long meeting unnecessarily. We have, well, I say we have, I don't know if we have anybody from the union to represent.
Yeah, I was not notified, and I don't see that anyone from the union is attending the meeting, Commissioner Farrow.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant. As far as internal affairs, the monthly OIA report was submitted to the board via email, through your package and email. Clerk's report on the status of pending matters.
Yes, and this is from our April meeting. It was just notification, again, of 2 second-step Barrows hearings for OIA case 21I-124 and 20I-005. And that's all I have for my report.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk, on that. Again, I'm going to skip 4D for now because that may take a little while. Number 5, no old business. 6, correspondence, none. 7, letter of appreciation. So we have a letter of appreciation from Councilwoman Marie Ines Valle on behalf of Captain Lonnie Blackwell and Officer Sam Illness from the Community Services Division for their donation of toys and tables to the teachers and children at Barnum School. Number 8, widow's pension. We don't have anything for tonight. 9, we have a request of the city engineer's office to approve the following traffic requests. So we have 9A1 notification letter to the DOT traffic engineer for a 15-minute parking sign at 1437 Fairfield Avenue.
And Commissioner Farrow, if I may,
Yeah.
this is just a notification
Yeah.
that this request from Mr. Gomez is now being forwarded up to the state.
Fantastic. Yeah, you mentioned that to me earlier. Thank you so much for that. And then 9A2, the installation of a handicap parking sign at 560 Bishop Avenue. And so this is what the city engineer's office is suggesting that we approve. Now, typically, we don't go through these. We typically have Commissioner Roach here to put in his opinion or what have you. I know he goes out and does his research and everything else, but we don't have to have him here for this. If you guys are okay with the installation of the handicap parking sign at 560 Bishop, you can make a motion for that purpose to accept or not accept? Does everything, I mean, is it, go ahead, Commissioner Williams.
Yeah. And the reason for this one is because of the lift that they've stated,
Right.
that they're unable to open a lift gate in the driveway.
Lieutenant?
Yes, I believe that's on the property of the owner at 560. So after, he did his review, he did recommend to have a handicap sign placed at or right directly in front of 560 Bishop Avenue. So the traffic engineer is recommending the sign be installed.
What's your pleasure, guys? Commissioners?
I just looking at the property, the gate is like really, the driveway is super long. It's wide. It's wider than your typical driveway. And that's why I'm just asking if it's just for the purpose of the lift. Because if you look at the driveway, it has ample room to open that lift gate in the driveway. Unless they are not able, because this is the only one page that I see, unless there's other reasons that they're not able to go into the driveway.
Commissioner, I'm just going to pull the original application, so just give me
Okay.
a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, the original application was from Miss Vanessa Adamus on behalf of her two twin sons, Johan and Jomar. This was an email that I received from Miss Shakenya Whitaker, who is, I work closely with Miss Whitaker. She's the ADA clerical assistant. Good morning, Nancy. I hope you had a great weekend. The attached application has been submitted by the mother of Johan and Jomar Adamus, who are severely disabled. As is such, their mother is responsible for transporting them to and from appointments and has a van with a lift gate. Unfortunately, it cannot be let down in her driveway. And she has to use street parking in order to be able to get her sons on and off the van. Therefore, a handicap parking sign would greatly benefit her, as parking on the street can be problematic at times. I just wanted to provide you with some background information for the engineering department, should they have any questions pertaining to this request. And in the application is also detailing this. Ms. Adamus, filled out the application, and Ms. Whitaker, did have a follow-up email that was forwarded. This entire package was forwarded to Powell as well as to all of the commissioners. So you do receive these applications and these letters when I send this out.
No, I'm not saying, it's just that it's been, postponed. So I don't have the original one in front of me.
Yeah, so this was not been postponed. I just received this.
I'm saying our last meeting. This would have been addressed at our last meeting.
Yep. So
right. So I don't have that in front of me from the last meeting.
Yep. So this was after. This was not for this meeting. This is for this meeting.
Okay.
I received this after the April meeting, and again, when I sent this original application out, I copy all of the commissioners on my correspondence to the traffic engineer. And this is what I just read. The application and the email was what the traffic engineer, after his review on site, decided to approve.
So Commissioner Williams, did you want us to table this until you have an opportunity to further investigate?
Yes, please.
So as that motion.
Only because when I look at the property, the property, I don't know what type of van it is, correct? And if you're backing it in, there's enough room to back into that driveway, and also depending on how she's coming out, and there's a walkway.
Okay. So is your motion to table?
My motion is to table this one. Yes, to table the 556 Bishop Avenue request for the handicap parking sign.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Moved and properly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So that's been tabled. And then we have 9B, request of the city engineer's office to approve the following traffic requests. All right. So I'm going to go through these. And I can't technically table, but these were tabled in the last or in the March 15 meeting. So.
Did they have the pictures the last time, Commissioner?
Trying to remember. Lieutenant O'Donnell, Commissioner Diaz was asking a question about the pictures for these.
Were they there in the last time we tabled it, when we tabled it the last time, or?
So with the application, unless there's something is sent to me via email with an email or pictures, I do not have any pictures or anything that is, taken by the traffic engineer's office regarding all of these matters.
No, I'm saying the picture that we have now, that with this particular ordinance, was it in the packet the last time we had it, or no? I can't remember.
And what item are you asking for?
We're 1437 Route 130 Fifth Avenue. Isn't that, we're on 9A?
No. We're down at 9B.
I apologize. I jumped. Okay.
Yeah. So we already finished that. The 9A1 was just a notification, and 9A2 we just tabled. So now we're down at 9B.
The notification was the 15-minute parking? I apologize.
Yes. Yeah. That was
Okay.
that was just a
All right. I apologize. Thank you.
No worries. So now we're at 9B,
And I have that.
1 through 5, right? And this is they were tabled at the last meeting, but the engineer basically suggests that we not approve these traffic requests. So we decided to table. I don't remember exactly why. I think part of it was
We wanted to go by and see the locations.
I think there was some reservation about tabling, approving the engineer's request.
So
The mission. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna make a motion to accept the recommendation of the city engineer office on these
9B 1 through 5.
9B 1 through 5.
Okay. I have a motion to accept 9B 1 through 5.
And if I may, commissioners, is this a motion to accept to not have the
approved.
signs installed? Okay, thank you,
Not
Commissioner.
approved, right? Their
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yep,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You just reviewing, Commissioner Diaz?
I'm sorry?
Are you just reviewing the document?
That's it. Yeah, did we get a motion?
Yeah, we got a motion on the floor.
I'll second, I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's a
am
motion.
going through every single one. I apologize.
Yeah, so the motion on the floor was
To accept the recommendation of the, and I'll second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Commissioner Farrell, before we go on to the last item, if we may, if we could just go back to new business 4C. I'm happy to report that the signs for Mr. Mackey and Miss Gathers at 169 Alsace and 175 Alsace were finally installed on May 13th of 2022. These signs were originally approved in December of 2021, and I've been in correspondence and contact with Mr. Mackey and Miss Gathers for the past several months, and I'm happy to report that the signs were installed this past Friday, and Mr. Mackey wanted me to thank the board, but
Excellent.
does not need to express his concerns. So he's very happy.
We appreciate it.
Very appreciative of all the boards approving these two signs.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Can I make a request for Lieutenant Donald on this 560? If we can go back to that, Bishop. When reviewing the documents, what I was looking for was like a picture of the lift and on the van, so that it would demonstrate the difficulties. The only thing that we always receive is a copy of the driver's license, a copy of the handicap. You know what I mean? They did not provide us anything to really go off of, because if you look at their property, it looks like, you know, the driveway is wide enough, unless she has a, you know, I don't know what the van looks like. We don't know what that looks like and what the lift looks like. So it's kind of hard to say, you know, yay or nay on that one. So if we can get request copies of that, so that we can make a better determination on
Sure,
that.
I certainly send an email to Shakenya and see if the applicant at 560 can provide those photos.
Yeah, because there's
my office, and
there's ample, you know, and I get it. It doesn't look like, you know, even when you ride by there, it doesn't look like it's a busy street. There's ample parking. There's like a parking lot all the way around. You know what I mean? On the sides of the house.
sure.
Because I try to ride by some of these places, you know, if it's in the vicinity of where I'm going, and I do try to look at it. And that was one that stuck out, because
Sure, I will send an email to Shakenya, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to get us that information.
Thank you. I mean, I want to, you know, accommodate, you know, anyone that has that, but we also have to be fair for other individuals that have the same disabilities as well. And if we're denying because they have access to a driveway on someone who, you know, has a disability, a mobility issue as well, we got to be fair straight across the board.
And again, this is for her two young children. This is not for herself.
No, I get that, but what I'm saying is just like we had one where the guy said that it was, you know, it's difficult for him that we just, you know, deny. He has to get out his car. He has to move his car each time the neighbors or somebody wants to come in, because he shares a driveway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're not accommodating that. But
Sure.
she has
I'll
a
also,
driveway.
you know, the application process that is comes out of the Office of Person with Disability, to see if they can update that application a little bit more. You know, we've done that. I've done that in the past, to see if the applicants can provide pictures and more detailed information.
That would be, you know,
Sure.
helpful, because when, you know, like you said, yes, you do send it out, but when we look at it, it's just the basics, just
Sure.
to make sure that they have a valid handicap, you know, parking sticker, and, you know, things like that, driver's license, but we don't get the details to really make that
I don't know what the requirements are of that office. You know, the requirements have to be fair across the board for everyone.
Absolutely.
And the application process, I don't know what that office and what they have to, you know, do, and making sure that it's fair.
Right.
And making one person provide photos and not another, but I will communicate that to Shakenya.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying if they can't, then they can't, but it's kind of hard to make that determination because a driveway looks like I have a 50 feet driveway, but it's not wide. It's just long.
Long.
You know what I mean? That one's wide.
Okay, sure. It would be happy to pass along the information.
Thank you.
So,
I could I ask a quick question? Is there alternative to a handicap sign that would allow for just the hours of the van when the van pulls in and comes to drop off or pick up of children, or is that not even a thing?
Yeah, I believe in this case, Commissioner Diaz, that the mom is the owner of the van.
Oh, it's a personal van. I thought it was okay. My fault. I thought it was something like a van that picks the kids up for school. All right.
all right. All right. So that being said, with the exception of new business 4D, everything else has been covered. Is that correct, Janet?
Yes, Commissioner Farrow, that is correct.
And with 4D, we have a request from the Bridgeport Guardians Executive Board for the board to review documentation regarding a personnel matter. And we talked about this briefly before, and we were going to address it, and we were expecting to get some responses from the city attorney's office concerning or regarding some of our concerns. But at this time, I'd accept a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of addressing this issue once again. See how we help with it. I got a motion on the floor.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Commissioners, will you give me a moment to just set this up? I'm just going to call our IT to get you all into the executive session room. So I'm just going to step away for a moment and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, the civilian come in. I don't care. Let civilian come in. All I do is talk.
Okay, Commissioners, Sergeant Carley will be sending a notice. It'll pop on your screen in a few seconds that you'll be going into executive session. So as soon as you see that, if you could please click on that, and that will move you into the executive session room.
And I want you in executive session too, Lieutenant. You know.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna call Sergeant Jack to let him know.
Hold on one second. Commissioners, are you okay with that? Because I feel like.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
You bet. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.